Rewind.
All right, thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. As always, I'm Mike, and with me we've got Double D. How you doing, Double D?
What up, Mike? I'm doing pretty good.
And Double D, why don't you introduce our special guest?
Our special guest tonight actually is a good friend of mine and is one of our patrons. Actually, is Alexander Ortega.
Hello.
Hi, Alex.
What up?
Hi. I'm excited to be here.
Good. You
Glad
should
to have you, man.
That's true. Yeah. Thanks.
You've made it to the big time.
Yes.
We're on our way.
All right. So, Alex, why don't you pick the movies that we're going to do today? So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Star Trek, Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek Into the Darkness.
Awesome. So this is a little bit different than what we normally do. Normally we just do like the first movie in a franchise and like the reboot. But we decided to do a little bit different and do kind of like the middle movies because, you know, Into Darkness kind of is a remake of Wrath
totally
of Khan.
is a remake.
I mean, it is and it isn't because it's like the first introduction to Khan in the new universe. But, you know, it's fine. Whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll make this work.
We'll make it work.
So, Alex, are you a Trekkie or a Trekker? I know both terms are respected.
Actually, this is my first, like, Wrath of Khan was my first introduction into the OG Star Trek.
Okay. What about you, Double D?
No, my brother was a big Star Trek fan of Generations, so I watched a little bit of Generations, and that's about it.
My dad was a big Star Trek Generations, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, so I watched all those ones. I would definitely say if I had to pick a series to watch again, it would be Star Trek Generations. Jean-Luc Picard is the best. And I remember I saw all the newer ones in theaters, like all the ones with like Patrick Stewart in theaters, but I remember watching these older ones, but they weren't like a huge part of like my childhood, so it was kind of interesting going back.
I feel like these movies and shows are actually a big part of not childhoods, but like teenage years.
For you?
No, for people in general that were Trekkies.
Okay.
Whatever.
Never mind. I don't know how you came up with that assessment, but okay.
I don't know.
Are you?
It's not really a kid show.
No.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I think people who were like the biggest Trekkers probably watched it as kids in the 60s and early 90s and then became adults. But, you know, Double D, if you want to say that only teenagers watch Star Trek, I'll let you have it.
I didn't say only. Whatever, Mike.
So I guess we should just get right into it. So we're doing... What year did the Wrath of Khan come in? It was like
1982.
1982. So let's just get into it. Who has the summary for that one?
I got one for us. All right, here we go. This one's from Robert Lynch. It is the 23rd century. The Federation starship USS Enterprise is on routine training maneuvers, and Admiral James T. Kirk seems resigned to the fact that this may well be the last space mission of his career. But Khan Noonien Singh is back. Aided by his exiled band of genetic supermen, Khan, infamous conqueror from the late 20th century Earth, has raided Space Station Regular 1, stolen a top-secret device called Project Genesis, wrested control of another Federation starship, and now schemes to set a most deadly trap for his old enemy Kirk, with the threat of universal Armageddon.
Nice.
Was there universal Armageddon?
There was a chance. If Khan had gotten rid of Kirk and had Project Genesis, like all of it, he totally
I guess he could go planet to planet.
All the planets.
But didn't he just have one, though? I thought you just had one Genesis.
He has one device, and it's on a regular starship, so all it would take is, like, get the armada of starships to, like, take out the one ship.
Yeah,
well, I don't agree that he could take over the entire universe.
I have so many questions about Project Genesis.
Ask them. I'm a bit of a scientist. I don't know if you know that.
How does it know when to stop creating?
Shut up, Double D.
Like I
guess a stupid question.
It can create life, but like it can create a full-grown plant or tree. But like, what about like other life? No,
it's just a terraforming. It doesn't make
It's said
Animals,
generation
just
of
plants.
life.
Just plants and
Just
like algae.
But aren't
It's a
they life?
terraformer. That's it. It's just plant stuff, bro.
But they create whatever.
Shut up,
Didn't
Double
make
D. You're wrong.
It's confusing to me.
Well, that's because you're an idiot.
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
I was confused too.
It's yet to be proven.
It has not yet to be proven. I've proven you an
It's
idiot many times on
totally
this podcast.
Yet to be proven.
I'm pretty sure.
Did you
on
ever
our
put up
Instagram-
that poll of which listeners are my friends?
No, I didn't want to disappoint you.
I had low hopes, so it wouldn't have been disappointing.
It would have been.
Yeah. Maybe.
So just real quick kind of background on this movie. So this was like one of the first times that they took like a movie plot directly from like an episode of the TV show. So Khan was in like one episode of the series. That's it. Like he wasn't in like a bunch of episodes. So he was one episode, and basically in a nutshell, he was a genetically enhanced like superhuman person from the 1990s like genetic wars or something like that. And he gets, frozen and everything. In the show, they thaw him out in the Enterprise, and he like takes over the Enterprise, and they basically eventually get back and they maroon them on like a planet, and that's why Khan is pissed off.
Yep, that's pretty accurate.
So that's basically, I mean, obviously Trekkies and Trekkers, if you're listening, you're probably gonna be a little upset that I very, very, very
Dumbed it down.
simplified that. But for the sake of time, we're just gonna
And me, so I could understand it because
Well, yeah, you're an idiot.
Stupid and an idiot.
Like if you weren't here, me and Alex can have a really great conversation.
Hey, don't let me hold you back. Don't let it happen.
Alex, you said this was your first like foray into the old Star
Yeah.
Trek stuff.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I actually really liked it. It was I really like Ricardo Montalban's like hamming up of the performance.
He was great.
it was so amazing. Like especially when he delivered lines, he like actually pauses and like there's a one line I really want to like talk about where he meets was it Chekhov?
Say it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chekhov.
and he's like, I never forget the face, Mr. Chekhov. I was like, wait.
Well, the thing that's crazy is Chekhov was not in the series yet when he was on the TV show.
Really?
So they basically had to like the writers in the movie recognized that it was like a plot hole. So they had to basically in interviews like, well, he wasn't in the bridge yet, but Chekhov could have been in the like just a regular engineer, and maybe he saw him in the engineering room or something
One
like that.
time.
Yeah, so they like wrote that kind of like it's not explained in movie, but it's kind of like one of those things that they kind of like hand waved it away.
It works.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's also crazy is when they got Montalban, they wrote this script and they didn't even check to see if he was available or not. Like at the time, he was on like 2 different TV shows. So he was on like Fantasy Island. He was on let's see. I think I took the note somewhere. I don't have it, but he was working on a couple different things. So there's a reason, if you notice, he's never on screen with the big actors. Like you'd never see him with Leonard Nimoy. You never see him with Captain Kirk. All of his interactions are on screen because they had to film all his stuff independently because they weren't able to
that's
work
true.
with
He's like
them.
talking to him through like the communicator and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's kind of like The Fifth Element. Bruce Willis never sees
meets,
Gary
yeah,
Oldman in that movie. Did you know that, Double
What?
D?
No, I had no idea. I've seen Fifth Element like 20 times.
Yeah, watch it. They never
Oh
interact.
my god. What
Yeah,
the
they
hell?
never interact. Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yep. That's what I do here, Double D. The only reason we do this podcast, Double D, believe it or not, I'm not actually putting this online. I just do this so I can teach you things.
Hey, wait, how do I download it? I don't get it.
It's directly feeding into
So
your
many
computer.
questions. Oh man. I'm
So-
so confused.
Besides the line delivery, besides the line delivery of Ricardo Montalban, like, what are some highlights for you, Alex?
The story is actually really nice. Like, I feel like I'm missing out a bit, but
really nice.
like, it's so different compared to like the new one where it's about like Kirk like dealing with like not he used to do this one thing really well and now he's like worried like he's getting older and stuff like that. So there's a bit of like mortality to it and stuff. And then he meets Khan again, who's like a superhuman per se, and he's like super strong and stuff. So it's a nice what's the word I'm looking for? Like counter to each other.
Well, the thing that's weird is then they talk like the big, like you hit it on the head. A big theme of this movie is his age, and there's a part like towards the beginning of the movie, it's Kirk's birthday, and like they're like, why are we looking at this like it's a funeral? And
Bones.
they talk about it a bunch of times, and there's a part where because they're on a training mission, and then it becomes a regular mission, Spock is like, because it's an active mission, whoever's the highest person on the ship has to be in charge. So you're the admiral, you got to be in charge. And he's like, you're really good at this, so like you should do it. But then they made like 4 other movies after this with this crew. There's like 6 of these original movies.
They're just too efficient to be disbanded.
Right. So Double D, what about you? What are some highlights for you on this movie?
Highlight for me on the planet where they found Khan, that little creature that they put in their ears.
The bug?
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of that thing. I did like all the interactions with Khan. Khan was very, very angry all the time, and like especially to
but he was
his
charismatic
like,
too, though.
He was, especially to his like first mate person, the one that did all the. He was like making all the right decisions, but Khan was just acting like he was so stupid. Like I just told you what to do. that I enjoyed that a lot.
There was a scene. Let's see if I can find it. So yeah, they that first mate guy at one point, he goes, "Look, we have a ship. Why don't we just go?" And then Khan's like, "There's no end to what I do to get Kirk." Like he's just like, it is a revenge thing, but that his main motive is that he is upset with Kirk because he marooned him on this planet, and then a neighboring planet like blew up.
Yeah,
and so it like destroyed the ecosystem of the planet they were marooned on. Which caused
threw them
like
out of
these,
orbit or
wait,
something.
actually,
and which caused like these.
That got me like.
Go ahead, Alex.
Like, why did they pick if they knew that planet was next to Khan? Like, they're like, oh, City Alpha 6, that's where we want to be, but City Alpha 5 is where we left Khan. Why did they think that was a good idea to just?
No, so what actually happened is they thought they were on a different planet, but because the orbit was off, it was where the other planet that got destroyed was.
Yeah, but what Alex is saying is
like,
that
even if
even so, even
no,
if they were on the
I
right
get it,
planet,
but not. I don't think everybody knew about Khan.
I mean,
I think that was just a Kirk thing. Well, yeah, but he was on the ship. But I think that was just like a thing the Enterprise did, because they did mention that like Kirk never came back to follow up and see how the colony was.
Yeah,
and that was another reason why Khan was so pissed, was that
didn't get checkups.
they like put them on this planet and they never came back to check up and see if everything was cool.
Wait, so how long was Khan on that planet?
Like 15 years.
It's supposed to be like 15 years.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. And then because the planet got destroyed, that was next to it, and it threw off the orbit, like those bug things came out, and like he says it killed like half his crew. Those bugs.
Yeah, just that one bug.
Yeah. Well, so
and his wife.
What's
It killed his
interesting
wife
is-
too. Yeah,
and his wife and like 12 other crew members. And that's why he's super pissed. And his wife is actually a character who was part of the Federation.
Oh.
Well, it's implied. They don't explicitly say, but in the TV show episode, there's a character who like inadvertently helps Khan, and then like she agrees to like go with them. And like it's implied that is his wife.
Okay.
But they what's interesting is like I'm a big fan of the newer movies, and like I'm not going to say too much about the newer movies right now, but like I saw the reboot like in theaters like 3 or 4 times, and then I ended up getting my first surround sound system specifically for Star Trek when it came out on Blu-ray. So there's a lot of things that this movie does that like refers to that are directly in like that first Star Trek movie. Like this movie opens up with the Kobayashi Maru exam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how the other one starts, and then it shows like Kirk cheated, and then it refers back to this. Like this movie has the story of how he actually cheated on the Kobayashi Maru, and like Christy Alley's character doesn't get that it's a no-win scenario, and he's like, yeah, it's a no-win scenario, and he's like trying to be like an admiral, and then at the end he's like, oh yeah, I totally cheated on it. I got accommodation for thinking outside of the box, and kind of thing. So I like that, and those bug things are actually in the newer one. Like they capture Pike, and like the Romulans actually put one of those in and like torture him to get like information about the Enterprise.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was interesting that this older movie, like it makes sense that the newer Star Trek movies would borrow from the old ones, but it's interesting at how much stuff from this movie was like in the first Star Trek movie. Like I really didn't expect that much stuff.
So in that first new Star Trek, they explained the reboot as a parallel universe, right?
Not a parallel universe, an alternate timeline, because in the future version, so if you watch the new one, like in the newer ones, old Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, is in it.
Yeah.
And so it takes place, like 100 years in the future, and then like a planet's getting destroyed. So they use something that's kind of like Genesis to like, it's like makes like miniature black holes to like destroy something.
Yeah.
And then it ended up, they were trying to destroy like something to like save the Romulan planet, but it ended up accidentally destroying the Romulan planet or something along those lines. And then it created like a black hole, which created like a wormhole to the past. So that's
weird.
The main bad guy in the first movie went back in time, and it just changed how everything worked out. So it is it's not an alternate reality, but it is an alternate time. Like it's like same characters.
All right.
You stupid bitch.
Thank you for explaining that to my feeble mind, Michael.
I'm explaining way too much to you. This podcast. We've been
All
going
I
for
said
about
was right, and you just went super in depth.
No, it's been 17 minutes, and at least 16 minutes has been me explaining stuff to you.
Well, whatever. I have no excuse.
So some other interesting facts about this movie. This was like the first movie to have like a complete like CG scene, computer generated scene, like entirely on screen. So like when they demonstrate what Genesis is, there's like a computer animated like thing. So that was like a big deal. And like what's weird about this movie is the previous movie like failed. It wasn't like a financial success. So they kind of like pushed Gene Roddenberry out of this one. So like he's listed as a producer, but he didn't really have a say in the movie. And they like reused footage from like the TV show and like the other movie, and they reused old costumes and stuff like that to get the budget way down so they can make. And this was like one of the most popular movies. Like if you look on like forums and stuff, like this is considered the best Star Trek movie. So I think it was a good one to talk about before we moved into the other one. So this movie is considered like gold, like the gold standard of Star Trek.
Top class. I was really a big fan of every time they say there was a ship coming on them quickly, they would just cut to the screen and there was a ship on there not moving.
Right. One of the things that's always kind of like, I didn't ever really notice this until I read Ender's Game, but they kind of like talk about it in Ender's Game where they, in any time you watch Star Trek or Star Wars, every time like they come out of warp speed or they show up on a planet, you see all the ships are basically aligned and they're oriented the same way. But in space, there is no reference point to be oriented, so it doesn't make sense that they would always be like top side up. Like you would think like you'd see ships sideways and stuff. So they like talk about it in Ender's Game, like how they use that to like strategize and like think outside the box for war, because everybody would come in and orient themselves. So when I watch these movies, I'm kind of like a butt about it. I'm like, there's no reason for them to be facing the same way. That's dumb. But that's just me being a butt.
You're such a butt, Mike.
I do like that the dogfighting is like, it's more slow and tactical though. Like
there is like targeting like life support systems and stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. I like that too. What did you guys think about the finale of this movie? I thought it was kind of dumb how they just flew into like the nebula, which is basically a space cloud, and Cotton like had no idea what was going on, and he's supposed to be super smart, and they just like sneak up on him.
Yeah. He's inexperienced, Mike.
He's supposed to be a brilliant tactician.
He's inexperienced in space battle.
I don't know. Like I guess like they kind of set it up nicely where like they also say like, oh, his ego is gonna get to him and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did.
I did like how
his first mate
Kirk
told him
defeated him the first time. Was like he like knew something about the spaceship, and like Khan maybe super smart, but like he doesn't like know the inner workings.
He's still ignorant.
Yeah.
He's inexperienced. One might say.
I said ignorant.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's nice. I like there's some like clever moments where I was like, oh yeah, that's neat compared to the new one.
I liked when they put the bugs in the guy's ears, and they put like the bugs in the helmets, and then they just put the helmets on the crew.
and then it was obviously fake. Oh, dude,
Yeah,
I
like
was
that
watching
big
this in
fake ear.
HD. It's like a clay ear.
I liked it. I was like, "This is neat."
I did like at the beginning of the movie when they're doing like the Kobayashi Maru exam, and like I think if you've never I think at the time this is supposed to be like a brand new thing, but for somebody watching this in the 2018, I already know what the Kobayashi Maru was, but I'm sure at like the time this was like a really big deal and probably like startled people. Is you see like Kirstie Alley is playing like a Vulcan captain, and like you see like her getting attacked, and you see like Sulu die, and then you see Spock die and Bones die, and you're like, what the I'm thinking, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, oh, it's the Kobayashi Maru. It's a test, but it's
all
like these are like some of the
Oh my god!
They're like,
Everybody's dying.
yeah, like if somebody seeing this in the 80s, they probably were like, what the fuck is going on? And then it's like an exam, like Kirk walks in, and then like everybody stands up.
Was it
But-
Bones was laying down. No, that
Bones
was
is how
so
my
great.
acting, yeah. I love Bones. I think Bones
Yeah,
is my
no,
favorite character.
Bones is great.
I loved all of his interactions with Spock, but what was weird was it's like, I get this is a training thing, but why would you have arguably the most famous officers running this thing all in one go? Like, why would you have them and not just other students being in this stuff? Like, it doesn't make sense that you'd have literally the most experienced crew ever for like one person being on the test.
And just for them all to die.
Right. It's really stupid. Like, it's such a waste. That would be like if you were like, oh, we're going to have like a paintball war game for like the army, but we're going to have like all the 5-star generals be cannon fodder. That was kind of dumb. But I really did like all the interactions with Bones. Like, he's a smartass. He's like, I'm a scientist, I'm a doctor. And then he brings Kirk the Romulan ale, which is illegal, and he's like, oh, I just use it for medicinal purposes. Which is cool. And so like I looked it up, and like Romulan ale in the Star Trek universe is basically like Cuban cigars in America.
Nice.
Like, they're illegal, but like people want them. And I loved like
Ale.
how throughout the movie, like, Spock is logical and everything like that, and Bones is just like, you're a dickhead. And then at the end of the movie, when like Spock goes to sacrifice himself, he's like, that'll kill you. No human can survive that. And he's like, as you like to remind me constantly, I'm not human. Like, throwing shade his way, even though he's about to die. And then Spock comes back in the next movie.
I like. I felt like Khan was a counter to Spock, because he's very intelligent, but he's also very buff, and then he lets his anger drive him as opposed to being logical.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is. I like that parallel. It's probably the smartest thing you've said on this podcast, Double D.
Ever.
No, I do like it because you're right. Like, he is super intelligent like Spock, and Spock is very measured and reserved, and that's how Khan was in the TV show episode. And in this, he just let his anger get to him, and it kind of like proves a point that like Vulcans kind of are superior in that regard, because the TV shows and other movies are constantly trying to, like, when we get into like the new one, like, they're constantly being like, Vulcans, you guys are kind of dickheads, and honestly being a human is way better than being a Vulcan. And so you're kind of right. It was an asset, Double D.
Yep.
Good commentary, Double D.
Thank you. I'd like to submit my resignation. It's not going to get any better than that.
I liked how the other scene I really liked in this was when they were talking to Khan the first time on like the communication screen, and he's like, I need all the information you have on the Genesis project. And they're like, yep, give us a minute. We don't know what that is. We'll check our computers.
And then they're just like, you just blew us up. So
right. And so then he goes, yep. You did. We're running out of power, and we got to reroute power to a computer because you're a ding dong.
And they just like, turn away from the screen and whisper.
They're like, just smile and nod. Just
nod. Just smile and nod.
Like I'm giving you orders.
And then they like speaking, like they're like, they find the codes to the other ship, and then they just like disable the other ship, which I thought was pretty cool. And like, once again, kind of like what Alex talked about, like Kirk exploiting his knowledge of the inner workings of his ship that he won't know.
Yeah. Inexperienced.
He ignorant. Let's see. Anything else you guys want to talk about in this before we
I
We
want
move
to talk
on?
about how Kirk had a son.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He did have a son. Yep.
I felt like all of those interactions were super awkward.
Oh yeah, like the son before he finds out that he is his son is like, I don't want our projects to go to the military. Kirk, he's like a warmonger kind of thing. And then
Yep.
then he calls him like a Boy Scout, and then Carol Wallace
Yeah.
is like,
It's far from that.
far from that. Like it's super weird.
I was like, oh, is that? Did I read that correctly? Is it?
yeah, because they totally bang.
And then at the end, he's like, "I'm proud to be your son."
Right.
What?
It was a really awkward scene when they like that first battle, and like Scotty brings up like a dead student, like he carries him to the bridge.
Ugh.
Like that was really kind of awkward.
Oh, wasn't that
Like,
his,
bring him to
his
the
like
med bay.
nephew or something like that? Or
Was it?
Yeah, it was, or his cousin's
cousin's
son or
son,
something like
yes.
that.
His cousin's son, so it's his first cousin once removed. That's
I don't
nothing.
remember. But it was some relative.
Yeah.
Whatever. Other than that, like I'm looking through my notes, and honestly, this movie, I fell asleep. I'm just gonna say I fell asleep like halfway through this movie. I've had a very busy couple of days, but I went back through it, like I rewound it and watched it, but I did fall asleep in the middle of it.
I
Just
was
full
kind of
disclosure.
disappointed there weren't so many Kirkisms in this movie.
Yeah. Well, so funny enough, it's because the director tried to put a squash to that.
Really?
So there's a scene. Oh, man, I can't remember what the actual line is, but when he's that scene when he's talking to Khan for the first time, there's a line delivery that he did that he just kept like overacting it like crazy. So the director made them do the scene like 50 times, so that way Shatner would be tired and then just deliver it like in a normal way. But apparently, like this movie took a long time because they were trying to like rein in William Shatner's overacting.
They were trying
by just
to
doing a ton of
rein
yeah,
in.
yeah, exactly.
It
right.
would have been much with like Khan's performance and Shatner's performance. I don't know if I could take it. Like I love the way Khan kept saying Admiral. It's like Admiral Kirk. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, I think he was very charismatic. I really did like this portrayal of
Yeah.
Khan.
Khan.
Khan. And like I really did like that Spock, like it seemed like Spock died. Like they sent him out to space.
Yeah, and
And then he comes back in the next movie.
he landed on the Matrix.
See, I was
planet.
thinking like the Genesis brought him back somehow.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
I think that is what happened. But I don't care enough to find out.
Yeah, well.
Fuck you, Trekkers. I don't care.
When does the Genesis stop?
It doesn't.
Now it's a valid question because
Genesis
if
keeps
it brings
going.
back Spock.
Nope. I refuse to let Double D have a good point.
When
Another
does
one.
it stop?
No, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't really remember what it is. Like I know he's like a child and then like an adult, like pretty quick in the next movie.
Yeah.
So
weird.
I didn't realize this, but this movie sets up a trilogy.
Oh.
So like the next two movies tie directly into this, and then there's like one more after. And then of course there's Star Trek Generations, which is mainly a Star Trek The Next Generation driven movie, but then William Shatner's in it as well. There's like a time travel element in that one too. So they made a fuck ton of these movies.
Star Trek.
Star Trek,
I really wanted to watch the crossover one.
The Generations.
Yeah, the Generations movie.
You
'cause
know,
I
Double
felt
D,
like-
you're allowed to watch stuff on your free
Nope,
time.
nope, I was not.
Like you're allowed to watch things that are not podcast related.
I don't know if you noticed, Mike, but I'm a huge procrastinator, and I totally just finished watching Into Darkness right before.
I know. I was really annoyed actually.
I know you were. That's why I do it.
Like, believe it or not, so you know how we did a Marvel month? Like we did Captain America and Hulk?
Yep.
Inadvertently, I didn't set out to watch all the Marvel movies, but over the last like month and a half, 2 months, I watched all of them but Age of Ultron. And there was only like I watched all of them but like 2 or 3, like inadvertently, even though we didn't do them
Just
on the
by
podcast.
accident.
Double D. So
Well,
if you want to watch that movie,
movies
by all
the
means.
time. Well, I'll think about it.
I don't care. I'm not.
I
invested
own a
in
lot
this.
of movies. I don't end up watching them.
Yep, I'm not invested in your movie watching
I
habits.
just
other than
bought
the
a new
podcast.
TV.
Oh yeah, what kind?
I got a Sony A1E.
Ooh, it's a really good TV.
No.
It's arguably the best TV on the market.
No.
Good for you, Double D.
Thanks, Mike. I'm super excited.
Brag. Brag.
Anyway, into the next movie is Star Trek Into Darkness. Alex, why don't you do this summary?
All right. So this one's from Paramount Pictures. It says,
Wait, you're doing the one from the company?
there's only one other one.
It's
No,
kinda
there's
funny.
no way
There
there's
are-
only one.
There's two of them from Paramount.
Well, yeah, there's two.
One from another user.
All right, I'll do the user one.
I feel like you're wrong. And I'm gonna.
Go look it up. I can screenshot this and send it to you.
No, it's fine. I got this.
All right, so the other one from Blazer.
There's 3 of them. You liars.
Yeah, and 2
read
of them
Blazer
are from
346.
Paramount.
All right, from Blazer 346, he says the latest mission.
Wait, is that a marijuana reference?
I
know.
don't think so.
Is it?
I think it's a.
He just likes
yeah,
wearing blazers.
dodgeball
That's
reference.
what it is.
Oh, okay. He likes blazers. He wears suits.
Wears them 346 days. The latest mission of the U.S. Enterprise. Crew takes them into deep space to rescue endangered species from an active volcano. However, once again, Captain Kirk's reckless behavior
Once again.
compromises the mission and nearly gets him booted from Starfleet. Turning back to his mentor, Admiral Pike, Kirk is demoted to Academy Cadet and has to start over.
No, he wasn't.
Oh yeah, no, he was he was the
He
first
was
commander.
The first officer.
Yeah.
No, he got booted out, and then
No, he
no,
didn't.
no, it was-
He didn't get
yeah.
completely booted. They were going to have a hearing, and then he was immediately a first command,
first
like
officer.
first officer. So immediately second in command again.
All right.
All right,
However-
keep going. I'm already upset with Blazer. Let's keep going. Let's get through this.
However, when a ruthless warlord attacks Starfleet and shoots Admiral Pike in the process, Kirk takes command and takes the Enterprise deep into neutral zone and the Klingon homeworld. Unknown to the crew, a Starfleet renegade is manipulating the Federation and the Klingons into a possible war. Kirk, Spock, and the rest of the crew must stop the war before all hell breaks loose. And what awaits the crew of the USS Enterprise on their forthcoming 5-year mission. Wait, what? Oh.
So that last part, the beginning of the movie, they're talking about how they want to send a ship onto a 5-year deep space mission to find new planets, which is what the series is. So it closes with the space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. And the series is when they're on their 5-year mission to find new planets and new life and stuff like that. So that's what Kirk really wants, is he wants a deep space mission, and that's where the movie ends. Is they're going on to that deep space mission. I think Blazer got a few things wrong.
Damn it, Blazer.
Yeah, I think it was a marijuana thing, and he blazed too much and didn't get the movie right.
Oh well.
So I really liked this movie when it came out, and there was a lot of controversy around this movie. I don't know if you guys know this.
Why, Mike?
You didn't know, Double D?
Tell me why.
You ignorant.
I'm inexperienced.
No, you ignorant. No, so the reason this movie had a lot of kind of controversy around it, so this one was directed by J.J. Abrams, so was the first one. And a lot of people were like, is Benedict Cumberbatch Khan?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, his name is Harrison. And they're like, yeah, but he's really Khan, right? And they're like, dude, Khan is not in this movie. I swear on my kids, I swear on my mom, Khan's not in this movie. And then Khan was in the movie, and everyone's like, fuck you, J.J. Abrams. So a lot of people don't like this movie specifically because of this twist. And when they announced that J.J. Abrams was doing Star Wars, they were like, oh, he's gonna do this kind of stuff, and he's like, look, I learned from that experience not to lie. Thus, I'm just not gonna talk about it and be like, just watch the movie and see. But a lot of people do not like this movie specifically because of that twist.
Just because Khan's in it.
Yeah, which
That's
I think is stupid. Now, I do have one major flaw in this movie, or major complaint, but on the whole, I liked this movie.
I also really liked this movie. I thought it was way more good action. And I really like that they stick to, they really fulfilled the personalities of each character.
I agree, and I think that's one of the things that I really like about this whole series is they updated it, and they were faithful. They were like, look, we're not going to really the reason we can change things is this is an alternate timeline because there's time travel involved, and they keep it faithful. Like the main characters are there, and the actors, while they don't necessarily look identical to like their previous actors, like they get the core of the characters. Like we've got a few characters or a few actors in this movie that have been in several movies we've covered already.
Yep.
Like we used to do a Man Crush Monday when every Monday when this podcast first started for Carl Urban. I think he's one of the most underrated actors out there, and he's fantastic. He's great as Bones. Like,
you know, I really like John Cho in this.
Yeah, John Cho as Sulu's great. John Cho's awesome, and
Anton
like
Yelchin.
He's Anton. Yeah, R.I.P. buddy. He's legitimately one of like I'm really upset that he passed, and it's such a stupid thing, like his Jeep malfunction.
Terrible way to go.
But he is a great actor, and he does the Russian accent so well in this movie. Richter. Planet Vulcan. He's great, and then like McCoy is amazing. Like the damn it, I'm a physicist and everything. like I'm a surgeon, not a bomb operator. And like his back and forth with Spock is great, and then they take it a step further in Star Trek Beyond, the third movie in the franchise. Like they give him a much bigger role in the next movie. And I like how he's great friends with Kirk. Like if you watch the original one of just Star Trek, he was like friends with Kirk before, and so like he just has this great relationship. And Zachary Quinto as Spock is perfect.
Yeah,
like he is perfect. And then
I didn't think I would like him as Spock the first time around, but he does it very well.
He's perfect. He's great. And then you have like I'm not a big fan of Chris Pine. Like I don't think he's that great, but I think he's a great Kirk.
Yep. I'll agree with both of those statements.
Yeah, I don't like him in most other things.
He's like he does a good blend of like being
face.
Like cocky, but like yet like he can empathize. Like he's not like you don't like him. Like he's a bit charming in a way. Like he has some charisma to him.
I think he's funny looking.
He is. I mean, yeah, but he does have some charisma. But I mean. Guess. He just doesn't come across as a smart guy.
No, he always comes across as a little aloof.
Yeah.
And Zoe Saldana's great. Yeah. I like her. I think her character as Uhura is probably the biggest deviation.
Yeah, she's a really strong character in this.
She's much stronger. They give her a lot more to work with. Like she's not just like the person like in the original series, Uhura like had a pretty big moment where it was the first like interracial kiss on TV. But it was like a mind control kind of thing, so like it wasn't that progressive, I guess. Like it wasn't true romance, but she was basically like Sigourney Weaver's character in Galaxy Quest, where she's just the person who reads what the computer's saying. Yeah. And in this series, like they give her played by Zoe Saldana much more like she speaks Klingon, and then she goes on missions and stuff too. So I think they give her a little bit more, which is good because this is a modern movie. But yeah, I really like all the actors. I think they're great. I think they did a great
really good
job.
Casting.
Yeah. RoboCop is
hell
in this
yeah
movie.
Yeah, and he's a jerk.
So he's a jerk in real life. I've got a story if you guys are interested.
I think I've heard the story, but I am interested.
What is the story, Double D? See if you can hear it.
I don't know. Remember. I said I think I've heard this story.
Remember? What do you remember? Let's see if you don't even want detail.
I don't remember.
You liar.
I'm pretty sure we can go back in the podcast and listen to the story again.
It wasn't in the RoboCop episode because I hadn't had an interaction with him before that. But so I didn't have a direct interaction with Peter Wellers, but one of my colleagues was working with him. He was one of my colleagues' clients, and I was talking to one of my colleagues one day, and we were just like talking about work, and all of a sudden he goes, "Just a second." He's like, "RoboCop is calling." And so he like picks up the phone, and Peter Wells just starts like yelling at my colleague. And he's just like just yelling at him, and like I can hear him. And like my colleague was just like, "Yes, Mr. Wellers. Yes, Mr. Wellers. Yes." And basically what happened, like I don't want to like get like slander or libel, but basically he bought a bunch of stuff and it wasn't working the way he wanted to do because he didn't buy everything that was recommended to him. And so he was upset that it wasn't working. But I did find out that he's also very much in love with his cat. Like my colleague like went to his house to like help like work with him on some of the project they were working on, and he was like yelling at my colleague, and then his cat came and he stopped like mid sentence to pick up his cat and like hug him like, hey, Mr. Kitty, hey, kitty. So he loves his kitty.
That's good,
Yeah,
I guess.
so highlights of this movie, guys. Alex,
Simon
go.
Pegg.
No,
Oh,
shut up.
Pegg.
I said Alex.
Sorry. Edit me out.
So what I find interesting is that like, or what I liked about it, it's more like it's everything that you want a remake to be. It updates with like better visual effects, better cinematography. It's it's newer. So like the action.
It's a beautiful film. It's shot
it's
really well.
Gorgeous. So, like seeing like the color palettes and everything like that. It's really nice. Yeah. The action choreography.
The updated audio is great.
Too. Yeah.
Like this series is why I like, no joke, like on my 21st birthday around it, I bought myself a surround sound as a gift to me and I set it up for the first time specifically for Star Trek because I loved that movie. And like this time around, I've got my surround sound set up in my current place, and I went through and like I was listening and I'm like, this doesn't sound good enough. And I went and like recalibrated my system and like adjusted my rear speakers and turned it up so I can really hear it. It's like the space battles in this were really cool. Like there was like phasers going behind me. I'm like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
I forgot to mention that in the first movie, the phasers are pretty awesome. That they just vaporized people.
Yeah, vaporizing people is cool. So, what did you guys think about Khan in this one?
Khan. He was intimidating. I don't think he was very. I didn't like him as much as the original Khan as a character.
I agree. I think he was a better villain in a way in that he seemed more formidable.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But he wasn't charismatic.
No,
he was not.
And I did like how they tried to make him seem kind of sympathetic at certain parts of the movie, and then he just wasn't. But I did have a major issue with basically his magic blood.
Yeah.
With
how come they couldn't like just grab the blood from the other, like?
Because they'd have to thaw him out, fool. You can't put frozen blood in a person.
I guess. I mean, can't you like thaw out that blood and?
No, bro.
Wouldn't have worked in time.
Wait, just Alex. Do you cook at all, Alex?
No.
No. Have you ever just pulled like a chicken breast out of the freezer to see how fast
just
that
put it in the
thaws?
microwave. It's good. Just put the blood in the microwave.
No, but the thing is, when you put it in the microwave to thaw meat, what ends up happening is the outsides get cooked a little bit. So when you go to cook it, it's not very good. But like you can put it in like a bowl of hot water, but it still takes like an hour and a half to thaw, just like a chicken
I mean, they got
breast.
Kirk in the what was it the ice chamber thing.
Yeah, they cryogenically froze him too, but you don't know how long they thawed him.
True.
It could have been like over the course of a day.
True.
It is.
You
also
don't
the future.
know.
They could have like instant defrost.
No, dude, you can't do that. That's
You don't
not
know
how
that.
cells
Are
work.
you familiar?
Yes.
When does Genesis stop?
So some, I just kind of want to touch on some like parallels and some characters in this movie. So Carol,
Carol Marcus.
So it's Carol
yeah.
Marcus. She becomes Carol Wallace later, but like, so RoboCop's daughter is the person who ultimately does Genesis later. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys caught that. So she's the one who ultimately does Genesis later. RoboCop. So basically, the premise of this movie, like I know we read it, but just to kind of make it make more sense, the major difference is Khan is found earlier because the whole events from the first movie kind of they destroyed Vulcan, so the Federation's like, we need to start, being a little bit more aggressive and finding new planets and stuff like that, just in case this happens. So they ended up stumbling across like a ship that had Khan, and this was Admiral Marcus's crew find it. So they like thawed Khan out, and they found out he's like a super genius, and they used him to design all the new ships. So there's some pretty interesting things. So like proton torpedoes are brand new, and those are a pretty big thing in like newer Star Trek movies and TV shows. And then one of the big things that was like, oh my god, and this was they had different factors of warp. So prior to this movie, or the events of this movie, they only have one warp speed. It's like impulse, you have speed of light, and then you have warp. Well, starting in like Star Trek Generations, they had like different versions. So they had warp speeds up to like 9. And then if you went to warp 10 is like so fast that you're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So this movie introduces the first thing that's slightly faster than warp. So they have variations of warp speed now. And Khan is who invented that. And Khan's who made all these new weapons and like designed these giant ships. So basically the premise of this one is replacing their first interaction with Khan. And Admiral Marcus is like using his like crew to like blackmail him into doing this stuff. Puts like his crew into giant missiles, and they were gonna like use the missiles to shoot Khan. And then throughout the movie, you think Khan might be kind of like an anti-hero, and that he's trying to like get back at Marcus for like trying to kill his crew. But then no, he's just like straight wants to wipe out everybody by the end of the movie.
Wait, did Marcus
He just
know?
wants to keep superior people.
Did Marcus know that they were in? Because like I felt like Khan was like, I try to outsmart
so what happened
him
was
by putting them in the torpedoes.
Yeah, so Khan tried to, and he was gonna use the torpedoes to smuggle him, but Marcus caught him, so he was able to escape. And they gave all the torpedoes to the Enterprise because they wanted. So what they wanted to have happen is. So Khan comes and like kills a bunch of people and then goes and hides on Klingon because he thinks the Federation won't go. So Admiral Marcus gives Kirk permission to go, and he's like, hey, look, stay in the neutral zone, shoot these missiles, like use all of them, like just blow them up. Like it's an uninhabited area. So he wanted Kirk to use all 72 missiles.
That's a bit much for one guy.
To get rid of the evidence. Right.
Just
And
blow
then
'em to hell.
the movie went to hell because what the other big twist in this movie is that Marcus actually sabotaged the Enterprise, so that way the Klingons would kill them, and then all the secrets. Then he gets the war that he wants, and then also there's no evidence that he did anything wrong.
But that new ship was pretty awesome.
The new ship was fucking rad.
Yeah.
It was like 10 times the size of the Enterprise. It was black.
Minimal crew.
Yeah, dude, it was tight.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But
And it was huge.
Yeah, it was ginormous, bro. I actually got this movie from Dustin. Dustin bought this movie for my birthday a couple years back.
Nice.
Like when it came out, it just happened to come out around my birthday, so that was pretty cool. One of the things, let's see. So when I take my notes, this is a little behind the scenes kind of thing, so you guys can see like how the sausage is made. I take my notes on my iPhone, and I just like as I'm watching the movie, like I summarize it. But if there's something I really want to talk about, I do bold. So I just kind of want to read you one of these things. One thing that bothered me in the first beginning, like the opening scene of the movie, I thought was really cool. So they're on this like primitive planet, and they're trying to stop a volcano from erupting to give this planet like time to develop. And then Kirk goes to save Spock, which means this planet saw them, and now they start worshiping the Enterprise. And so that's why he gets in trouble. They broke the
Prime Directive.
The Prime Directive, but they're not supposed to interfere, right? But there's a point where RoboCop. There's a point where they Kirk is like running, and Bones is like, "You just shot our ride," because he like shoots like this giant animal, and like that was our ride. So they have to like run through this forest, and then they get to these cliffs and they drop into the ocean. So they jump off this cliff that's like hundreds of feet in the air, and then it shows them hit the water with feet first, which is how you're supposed to jump if you're going to jump from a high distance. Is you jump like that, right?
Yep.
But then it shows them hit the water, and then it transitions to them in the water, and it shows them like do this like parabolic like arc, and then start swimming like in a straight line position. There's no way that they jumped vertically and then were able to move that smoothly into facing forward. That bothered me as a swimmer. There's no way they could have done that.
Also, there's no way they could have disrobed that quickly underwater.
No. That was my first note.
And also, how were they swimming that fast?
They wouldn't. So it would make sense if they dove into the water and then they arced their bodies to keep that momentum going. But if you're jumping straight down, you're not going to have that momentum. So that didn't make any sense. The other note I wrote down was the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, which Spock says in the first few minutes of the movie. But that is a huge thing from Wrath of Khan. Like they say that throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, multiple times.
So I did like that parallel pretty quick in the movie. Let's see. I did like how like Pike, when he was dying, Spock kind of like mind melded him to put his body at peace before he died. That was nice.
Oh, is that what he did? He put him at peace.
Yeah.
Like I thought he was just like
letting him.
What is he thinking? And he like mind melded with him.
No, he was mind melding him to like.
I was like, oh, this is weird.
Put him. calm him down, and be like, "Hey, I got you, brah."
You're good. Don't feel your pain.
Yep. What are some other highlights for you guys? Because there's a lot of cool shit in this movie.
When Kirk pretty much dies.
Yep. They swapped
yeah.
that role with because that was Spock in the original.
Yeah.
I did like when Spock like beat the shit out of Khan.
And he didn't feel it.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no,
with
that was
Kirk,
Kirk.
with
So Kirk beat the shit out of him
the shit
at
out
one
of
point in the movie, and like Khan's kind of like, "You
So-
a bitch." But then later on, Spock fights him, and then like he actually defeats him. And he like, so Khan has this line, and it foreshadows the end, where he says something to like, I don't remember the exact line, but he's like, "If you can't do this, like you can't break a bone," or something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, when Spock is fighting Khan, he like breaks his arm and then pummels the shit out of him. And Uhura has to be like, "Hey, we kind of need him alive so we can use his magic blood." And then there's the flaw of the movie. I really hate the magic blood. Like, death has no consequence in this universe, and they kept him alive. Like, we don't know where Khan is kept, but like Alex said, like let's thaw some of these popsicles out and use their blood to cure everything.
Trebles.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them aren't psycho.
No, they're all psycho.
I mean, the original Khan's people weren't psycho. They just followed Khan.
No, they're all psycho.
Oh, in the new,
I did
in
like
the new
how
timeline.
Spock used the Vulcan neck pinch
Oh, yeah.
on Khan, and like it doesn't really work. He's just like,
You're pretty good
So that
at
was
that
pretty
sound,
cool.
Mike.
I actually feel like Spock is more of the main character in this movie than Kirk was, because
in this one, yeah, I
like
agree.
Spock actually goes through like a character growth and changes, while Kirk stays the same and dies, and then
Stays Kirk.
That happens in both movies. Like the first Star Trek movie, same thing. Like Spock is just as much of a main character as Kirk is, and that like his planet gets destroyed, and then he has to fight the Romulans and stuff like that. Like this movie, I would like if you had to pick like the main crew or the main cast, it's Kirk and Spock and like all three, which I think is fine. That's what makes the most sense. I thought it was badass when Khan crushed Marcus's skull.
yeah.
Oh man,
That was
pretty cool.
Yeah, there you have Alice Eve
Yeah.
scream.
Pretty.
Yeah,
That was a good scream.
I
guess.
the whole like ship spinning sequence was pretty neat and like interesting. I like it, like how it's like
Where they have to like run through the ship when it's oriented differently,
yeah.
and you just see like bodies flying and like who was he running with?
Chekhov,
Scotty.
right? Oh no, oh yeah, it was
Oh
Scotty.
yeah, no, he was
It
running with Scotty.
Scotty.
Yeah, it was Scotty,
Yeah.
and like Scotty wants to stop. He's like, we can't stop.
jump.
And well, what was interesting? It was interesting how kind of cold Kirk was able to be in that, because like he mentions early on like, hey, I've never lost a crew member, not one.
Yeah,
And then Pike is like, that's just luck. Quit being a douchebag. You know that's not your fault. In fact, like you probably should have lost some crew members. You're just lucky you
Definitely.
haven't. And then like the first time, like when he gets like blown up towards the beginning of the movie, he's like, oh shit. And like he's definitely devastated that people are dying. But then in that scene, he's just like, nah, there's nothing we can do. Let's keep going. Fuck those guys. And then like he goes and like Chekhov saves them. Like Chekhov holds two of them. That was
Chekhov's
pretty cool.
Awesome.
Chekhov is great. I'm really bummed that, you know, unfortunately we don't get him in the third movie or the follow-up. They're doing two more of
Are
these
they really?
movies.
Oh really?
Yeah. So that's
Interesting.
cool.
I really like Scotty, by the way. I don't think we
Scotty's
Yeah,
Simon
Simon
Pegg's-
Pegg is one of my favorite actors. I love everything that Simon Pegg
Can I
is
say
in.
it? No.
No, you can't. I love that scene when like he's like, I'm not signing off on these torpedoes, and Kirk's like, you're gonna sign off on them, and it's an order. And he's like, then I resign. And he's like, fine. He's like, you accept my resignation? Fine.
Yes.
Like Scott, like he's great. Simon Pegg, and he's a huge like Star Trek fan, so it's great that he's in these. He actually wrote Star Trek
Right.
Beyond,
Yeah.
the third
Really?
one. Yeah, he wrote the third one. I think he's great. Like I am toying with an idea of a third podcast for MDXpods, and like Simon Pegg would be probably a large part of it. I'm not ready to divulge the whole thing, but I am considering doing a third podcast if I can find the time to do it. But yeah,
I like Scotty's
anything
partner.
else you guys want?
Yeah,
Scotty's partner,
rock guy?
played by
Yeah.
Deep Roy.
it's just like he has no lines, but he's very like it's just funny watching him. Like he was just like on top of the torpedo, just chilling. I was like, oh, that's in the background.
He's in the first
out.
one too, and it's great. He's like, so Scotty is like exiled to like a different planet in the first one, and he's there too, and he's like, we haven't had food in a while, and he's like, yeah, I'm hungry, I want lunch. He's like, what are you complaining about? You're tiny, you could like eat a bee. Anything else you guys want to talk about in this movie?
I feel like there is, but I'm not.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Like there's that scene when they're like flying through space, and like they get off course a couple times. Like literally, it's like Khan and Kirk are flying through space and just like space shoots.
So that was cool.
Oh, the Klingons. We haven't talked about the Klingons at all. Like that scene on Klingon was awesome. Like
I thought the ship chase was pretty cool.
The ship chase? Which ship chase?
When they got to the planet in the neutral zone.
Oh yeah, that was cool. And then they had the but like they're about to get killed by the Klingons, and then Khan comes out and saves them. Like he fucking murks like 20 Klingons.
I think he like
himself.
holds a minigun too. I was like, what?
Yeah, he holds like a minigun phaser. That was really cool. And then he like fights a bunch of them. And he's like jumping around doing flippy flips, and then like he finds out that Kirk has the torpedoes, and then he
How
just
many
like
were there?
72. I surrender. And then he beats the
fails
shit
to
out of him, and he can't do it.
I like that sequence where he just keeps beating him. I'm like, it's not doing anything. This is weird. This is awkward.
Awkward. Totally awkward.
I liked that they gave Scotty that big mission, like by himself, to like go like get in that ship, and he like saves them like by sabotaging stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're walking around, like he opens up the airlock so that they can get in, and then like they're going around the ship like Solid snaking people. And then like they get in like a little fight with like 5 guys, and Khan like beats the shit out of a couple, and then like just ditches them. And then he goes, wait a sec. Scotty goes, I thought he was helping us. And Kirk's like, pretty sure we're helping him. Like I definitely think that they utilized Khan's intelligence better in this one.
Yeah.
Like I definitely got that. This movie did kind of have that trope that started with The Dark Knight, where like the bad guy gets caught on purpose because it's part of the plan. So he, that kind of, it had that trope from like the mid 2000s, but I definitely felt like he had that raw emotion that Montalban had, but also was a little bit more calculated, and he seemed more intelligent. I did like that.
Yeah, I really didn't buy the rivalry between them, to be honest. Like how like in the first one, like I really felt like Khan was just like he really was just out set to get Kirk, and that was it. But
yeah, well, in this it wasn't like that. It was the opposite. Well, that Kirk was out to get Khan.
They're like they kind of play. Well, yeah, true. It was a little opposite. But then like he was like interested in Kirk. He was like, "Oh, Captain," and like, "Oh no," it was.
I don't think I don't think Khan cared as much. It was more like Kirk was an inconvenience, and he's gonna take him out.
Yeah,
because he's an inconvenience.
If they hadn't stunned him on the bridge with Marcus, he would have been fine and let them go. If he kept,
he probably I think he probably would have kept going, because like he was a general in the genetic wars, and I think this version they set up like Marcus says something along the lines like he's gonna take over, like he'll thaw his people out, and then he'll have an army of genetically superior, more intelligent people. So I think they were kind of worried that they were gonna take over. Yeah. I think is the implication. So I think he definitely needed to be stopped, but I don't think that he had a personal vendetta against the Enterprise until they blew up all the torpedoes. So the kind of the twist ending is like they kind of the same thing where there's like that stalemate where he's like, I'm going to blow up your ship unless you give me my crew back. Where like in the first movie, he's like, I'm going to blow up your ship unless you give me the Genesis information. Yeah. So they gave them all the torpedoes, but they took all the people out of them. And then they blew up the torpedoes. So Khan kind of thought that his entire crew was dead. And also, once again,
they gave it to Spock. Spock was the one that figured that out and did that, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, I did like that scene when they're like, oh my god, they just killed all these people. And he's like, Spock's cold, but he's not that cold kind of thing. Yeah, Bones is great. Like, I really wish I just wrote down Bones quotes. Like,
should have.
Carl Urban is fucking fantastic in this movie. Let's see. I'm on IMDb. They have... Let's see, the first quote on IMDb was Spock. Khan! Oh, I did like when Kirk tries to justify partnering up with Khan, and he goes, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." And Spock is like, "That's a proverb who's like attributed to a prince who's decapitated by his own people." And Kirk's like, "Yeah, but it's still a good quote." Like, dude, Sulu was badass too when he was the captain a little bit.
That
Like,
was great.
there was a point
that
where
delivery.
I don't remember if it was Spock or Bones was like,
It was Bones.
he's never been somebody that I can see as a captain. And then Kirk was like, he's gonna have to be, and he just like fucking lays it. I actually wrote down this one, so it's like, "This is Captain Hikaru Sulu of the U.S. Enterprise, a shuttle of highly trained officers on its way to your location. If you do not surrender immediately, I will unleash the entire payload." And he's just fucking cold. And then at the end, he's like, "Refusal to do so will result in your obliteration. And if you test me, you will fail." And Bones is like, "Remind me, Mr. Sulu, to never piss you off." I was like, yeah.
There was a line where he was talking to where Bones was talking to Spock. He's, "Don't agree with me, Spock. It makes me very uncomfortable."
Yeah. I also like one where like I do like that they do play with the Spock being half human in this one a little bit. Like, he's still very logical, but he does have some sass. So like there's a scene where he's with Pike, and he says something along the lines of like, Pike's like, "This was your plan to save that planet, so you technically he's like, "You broke the Prime Directive." And he goes, "Well, if we were never seen, then technically I wouldn't have broken the then I wouldn't have violated it." And he goes, "That's a technicality." And then Spock, I wrote this one down too.
He's like Vulcan something.
Yeah, he goes, "Oh, I can't find it. But he goes like, "That's a technicality." He goes, "Vulcans live like with technicalities," or something like that. Oh, he goes, "Christopher, I found it." He goes, Pike goes, "That's a technicality." He's like, "I am Vulcan, sir. We embrace technicality." He's like, "Are you giving me attitude, Spock?" He goes, "I am expressing multiple attitudes simultaneously. To which are you referring?" Yeah. I love the one-liners in this. Like, there's some great ones in this.
Yeah, really good humor.
Oh, it's like to finish, like the one that you brought up, Double D. He's like, "Don't agree with me, makes me feel uncomfortable." He's like, "Perhaps you too should learn to govern your emotions, Doctor."
Yeah.
He's got the sass is real, man, with Spock. I mean, so just around the table really quick. So do you feel like this was a worthy remake? Do you think this was something that should have been made? I guess the franchise as a whole.
I liked it a lot. So I'm not mad it was remade.
Yeah, most definitely. It like I said, I think it's everything that you look for in a remake, like updated visuals. It's a different retelling. It's not exactly the same. So it's for sure, definitely should have.
Yeah, same page for me. I'm a huge fan of this new franchise. I'm a huge fan of J.J. Abrams, James Wan, who did the third one. Huge fan of like the entire cast except for Chris Pine, but he's fine. These movies are fine
Kirk.
despite him.
I think
he's a good Kirk. The movies are fine despite him. It's fine. Everybody else is great, and I had fun watching these movies. I kind of want to go back and watch the other two. So yeah, despite the controversy around Khan, I think it was a great movie. I think they kept to the core of the character, and I think you hit it on the head, Alex. It's everything that a remake should be. It updates it, but it's faithful.
Nice. I do have one last question before we sign off here. Damn it, Alex, why are you laughing already? Where does Genesis stop?
Shut up, Double D.
I just want to know.
It doesn't stop.
Oh, man.
It can't stop. It's addicted to the shindig, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers would say. I don't know why I said that.
I don't know.
Anyway, Alex, thank you for coming on.
It was my pleasure.
It was a good time, Alex. Thank you.
It was nice talking to you, bud. And you're welcome back anytime you want. And then thank you guys for listening. You guys can check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com, Instagram or Twitter at MDXpods. And we're on that weird Vero app. Don't worry about it. Nobody's on there. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com and chip in $1. We throw these episodes up a few days early so you can listen to them ahead of time. And we give out other stuff. So check us out on Patreon if you want to. And listen to our other show, Remake. Oh, no, this is Remake Rewind. You can listen to Remake Rewind. But also listen to Ruin My Childhood. It's another great podcast by MDX Pods that I do with Katrina. And that's it. Thanks for listening.
Later, dudes.
Bye.